Hey, it's Aaron the Metal Theologian. Alright, we're listening to the Tigers of Pantang right now because this is the much long teased Neat singles video. And this is the earliest one I have. So, to bring up to speed, if you're not familiar with Neat Records, which you probably are if you're watching this channel, but I don't be a dick about it or anything. Neat Records was kind of one of the labels that they came to be looked upon retrospectively, maybe to some degree, as a really important label for the the new wave of British heavy metal, the NWOBHM movement, right? So put out a lot of really great records, and like kind of the movement in general, a lot of the very best stuff that came out on that label was on 45s. A lot of exclusive releases, a lot of things that kind of came to have a lot of notoriety after the fact and that sort of thing. And there were some great albums on Neat too. I mean, the early Venom records were on Neat. There was some other shit here and there, but a lot of the records are kind of arguable. Jaguar had an LP on Neat that I don't think is all that great, but it's grown on me some over the years, so I don't know, I'm sort of in this weird middle ground with it and shit like that. Anyway, I think the 45s are really the most interesting pieces in the catalog. For some reason, too, there's probably a reason for this that I just don't happen to know, but a lot of the bands who put out 45s or early records on Neat seem to end up on MCA. So, like, Fist had one record on MCA and then an LP on Neat. For some reason, in that order, you'd think it would have been the opposite, right? But I don't know. White Spirit is another one. They had a 45 on Neat, and then they put out a record on MCA. So that kind of sort of seemed like the pattern a little bit. So another thing to note about this is a really good place, sort of, if you want to start collecting this shit, because some of these 45s are rare and sought after and that sort of thing. But a lot of them are still relatively easy to find and not that expensive as these things go either. So, if you're just getting into records, I'm not necessarily going to try to encourage you to start tracking down shit like this, especially if you're not in the UK. But if you're so inclined, you'll get some good records that'll tie you over pretty nicely until, you can at least find a copy of the Diamond Head LP, right? And this fucking thing is stuck on my record player, so there we go. Here's the label, though. This one, and that's kind of the famous Neat Records label, that big. That's on all of them, and a lot of people like us love it. Here's the B-side. This is Burning Up. Actually, I'm gonna put on we'll do this one. Burning Up Bad Times is the B-side of this one. I'm pretty sure that other song appeared on their first album, Wildcat, which was also an MCA, come to think of it. So the very first two records they put out on Neat were actually not metal records. It was one was by a band called Motorway, and the other was by some act called Janie McKenzie or something like that. I don't know if it was more like a singer-songwriter thing or what, but neither one has much of a reputation in metal circles. So I don't know, man. I'm just not that much of a completist, so I'm gonna go and check some shit like that out. And you'll see this here anyway. The early singles, definitely the first 10, really about the first 20 or so, are almost all really good and interesting for one reason or another. After that, they kind of became a little bit more spotty. The big labels started catching on to some of the shit. I guess some of them were defecting to MCA. And some of the acts, I don't know, man, they just don't have the same staying power for me. So bands like, there's some bands like Tyson Dog and shit like that I just wasn't as interested in. They put out a single covering School's Out by Alice Cooper, which is a good way to get me to ignore your band, is to cover that fucking song. So anyway, we're starting this out with Neat 03. With this super professional, not at all amateurish looking cover, which is really oversized for some reason too, like singularly among these, but yeah. It's a really cool record, and really not all that hard to find, so you're not going to find one at the thrift store. If you buy all your records at the thrift store, forget it. Well, maybe I shouldn't speculate about the price, because I have had this thing for more than 20 years now. Anyway, the next one is one of my very favorites, actually, right off. Neat 04 is the name, rank, and serial number 45 by Fist. And I'm going to put this on. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get an ad put on the video if I play Fist. I don't know why, but maybe because of MCA, right? But I'm going to play this anyway, and y'all can just suffer through the ad because the song is that fucking good. real punky edge to it. And what a great band name too, Fist, right? It totally seems like the sort of band name where someone didn't necessarily think through everything, all the, well, I think you get where I'm going with that. So let's check it out. This is a name, rank, and serial number. Glenn Coates from Hollow Ground actually went to Fist for their second LP, but this is the first one with this guy named Keith Satchfield, who's frankly a much worse singer, but I kind of like him even better for this kind of a record. So there we go, name, rank, and serial number by Fist. Back with You'll Never Get Me Up in One of Those. In a super sort of cheap band photo on the back. So good. All right, the next one. This band, I think maybe has suffered a little bit from having been on too many comps. I mean, I first heard this because it was on that Lars comp, like a lot of people. But these guys, well, here we go. It's White Spirit. Another name if someone didn't think it through all the way, right? I mean, they sound like they sound like a white power band, don't they? But they're totally not. So, like, if you're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to Nazi shit in my house. It's really not. They were just dumb, you know? Back to the Grind. It's a pretty decent song. You know, it's okay. How about those pictures, too? These guys have a real sort of Deep Purple-ish vibe. In fact, I was thinking about this earlier. The song Cheetah, which is a great song that appeared on too many comps. It's on Brute Force. Is that the one that's called with the thing on it, with the arm on it? Yeah, it's Brute Force. I don't know. It's been on a few different comps. Anyway, it's great stuff. It really sounds like, as far as the instrumentation, like not only do they have the organ sound that you like, it sounds worthy of John Lord, but the guy's guitar tone is even kind of Blackmore-ish, you know. But what's really not Deep Purple-ish about White Spirit is the songwriting style. You know, it really is sort of firmly in that new wave of British heavy metal style. So, totally worth checking out. Really good record. All right, now we're getting to the big names here. Because we've got Raven, the mighty Raven, right? And this is their first single on Neat. Don't Need Your Money. A great picture of those guys. Roger Waters was with these guys for a little while there when they made a 45. And you'll actually note too, they're already singing their athletic rock from Neat. So like that was as old as the band apparently. I would have guessed that was something they came up with when they were on Atlantic, but no. Yeah, very cool record. You probably know what Raven sounds like. This is kind of like Raven at their most sort of primitive, you know, the most sort of, you know, it's everything you want on a Raven record and nothing you don't want. I mean, that's the bottom line of that one. All right, the next one, Neat 07, is Aragorn, who only made this one single while they were together. I'm pretty sure there's been a comp more recently with like demos and that sort of thing, but they appeared in a couple comps too. Noonday was on that Lead Weight sampler that came out on Neat. But yeah, just really heavy rockin' band. I'll have to fire this one up for a minute too. Because this is ending anyway. There you go. I don't know if anyone else ever listened to the Tom Hartman radio show. But that guy, like, he had a way of, like, he was the expert at, like, talking through the bumper music all the way right up to the commercial break. You know what I'm saying? And I am not as good at that. But I kind of just did it just now with that Raven one. So, or the Fist one. So I'll take it, man. Let's put this bad boy away. I'll fire up a little bit of Aragorn. Noonday is on a couple of comps, so we're going to put on Black Ice. There's a banger. It's so good. And in a way, this is a great example of one of these bands. I mean, when I come on here and talk about how there are all these great bands that only ever made one single, you know, but it's the greatest shit ever. This is really the sort of thing I have in mind. Aragorn. These unassuming nobodies just fucking blew my mind, man. Yeah, this one might get played next, but It's another personal favorite. Neat '08, double A side. It's the original Venom in League with Satan 45. Back with Live Like an Angel, Die Like a Devil. And one thing about this record that doesn't get talked about enough is that it's actually a different mix. Live Like an Angel, Die Like the Devil pretty much sounds the same to me as it does on the album, right? But in League with Satan actually sounds even shittier on this thing. Like, it sounds even more like cavernous and sort of open. It doesn't have that kind of silly, like, backward mass part at the beginning of the song. It just goes right into the drum beat. And, I mean, what an opening statement for a band. So, I think we're going to listen to this in a minute. Listen to this. So yeah, this is the beginning of Venom's illustrious career. Supposedly they stole this thing directly off the cover of the Satanic Bible. And then of course they reused it for Welcome to Hell too. So, you know, we're not exactly putting shit tons of effort into mixing it up on that front, right? Yeah, this is probably my least favorite out of all these, actually. And it's in the first 10, so... This is Neat 9, and this is Always Ready for Love by Bitches Sin. And I don't know, I mean, I'm not really that big a fan of this band anyway. I kind of think they're one of the few bands that got better with time. There's nothing wrong with the single, you know what I mean? It's a cool 45 to put on. It's also plenty for me. If I play both sides of this thing, I've gotten my dose of Bitches Sin, and I'm kind of set. I actually think they're, out of the records I have, probably their best one is, well, I was going to say it's the Invaders album that came out on King Classic, of all labels, later in the 80s, like 86 or 87 or something like that. I think the No More Chances EP might be even better. But that's probably because it's from the same era and has the same sound, but it has fewer songs on it, so it doesn't, you know, try my patience like these guys do. I don't know. I mean, other than the stupid name, I don't really have a lot of criticisms to level at these guys. You know, their first album on Heavy Metal Records was really bad. This one is not like that at all. This is a pretty decent single, but it's just never one of the ones that grabbed me as much as some of the other ones. I don't know, I just don't like the songs as much, I guess, you know? So yeah, not one I would stake my reputation on, but worth keeping around for sure. Alright, the next one. Some of you probably tuned in just to see if I was going to show this next one, okay? So here it is. Neat 10. There we go. The Buried Alive single by Blitzkrieg. And I swear, Buried Alive might be even better than the B-side of Blitzkrieg. Another band, by the way, where at the time, this was all they did. You know, Bitches Sin had more records out, and Venom, obviously, and Raven, but... Blitzkrieg was really completely obscure until Metallica covered that one song. And then, of course, this thing shot up in value. And then I bought it, and then it shot up even, like, a lot more than where it already was. So, this is probably not the best starting point if you're just getting into this shit. But, since everyone sure knows the song Blitzkrieg, we're going to put on Buried Alive for a minute, because it's just so fucking good, man. There we go, the neat label. And you gotta love these cheesy pictures, right? Steve English looks like a fucking... I don't know, it's like... He looks like one of the Black Legions guys on one of those demos or something like that, you know? So... And I don't know what's up with this weird sort of fantasy art, but I'm on board, man. I love this fucking thing. I would wear a t-shirt with that. Chugga chugga, it's fucking so good, man. Like, total respect for that weird sort of angular riff, like with the weird timing on Blitzkrieg, their signature song. But this is fucking so good too, man. Next one's another Raven. Neat 11 is the Hard Ride single by Raven. Two more bangers from Raven. If you already know Raven, but you've never heard any of their singles before, none of the shit is going to really surprise you all that much. You know, it's like a little bit even less of a production budget than on their other records, and I mean, they're pretty good companion pieces to their neat LPs, really, because they made Well, I was gonna say three. They made. I was gonna say two. They made at least 3 LPs on Neat. My copy of All for One happens to be a Megaforce press, but it came out on Neat in the UK. This next one is one I just kind of rediscovered recently. Neat 12 is Raw Deal with that kind of unassuming cover. This is not the greatest thing ever. Okay, but this isn't not the greatest thing ever the way the Bitches Sin is, where you're like, yeah, this really isn't the greatest thing ever. This is more like one of those, it's not the greatest thing ever, but you listen to it and you're like, you know, this isn't the greatest thing ever, but I'm really enjoying this shit, you know what I mean? It's easy to slip through the cracks because it's right in the middle of so many bangers, you know, and, you know, again, it's so sort of unassuming. It's not grabbing your ass with that sci-fi shit or a pentagram or, you know, anything like that. Just a really cool sort of straight-ahead heavy metal record, though, you know, in this sort of style, you know, with that sort of new wave British heavy metal magic. Yeah, and a really cool piece, man. So, also probably one of the less difficult ones to find because of that. So, if you come across it, don't snooze on it. It's really a solid record. Nothing to not enjoy about that thing. Alright, the next one's another favorite. Neat 13's Bloodlust by Venom. If you have the, I'm pretty sure that Bloodlust and the B-side of this, In Nomine Satanas, were on the combat press of Black Metal. Is that right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Black Metal. But this is just a single in the UK, and so if you have a Neat pressing of Black Metal as I do, you're going to need this too. That's just the way it goes, because the fucking songs are so good. When I saw Venom live, actually, the way he introduced it, he was like, yeah, we're going to do both sides of our second single. And he like went like this. It's like, it seems like kind of a weird way to plug it in like a live setting, but either that or like a really fucking brazen appeal to the record collectors like me in the audience, you know, who actually probably had the thing already at the time. I did. So, great record though, man. I wouldn't be surprised if you know the songs, but it's early Venom. You know, that face Kronos is making pretty much sums it up right there. And I'm all in. But up next, we're going to listen to In League with Satan so you can hear just how shitty this sounds. And also because I really want to hear it right now. Also, this is a fun song because it gets stuck in my wife's head. It's like I'll play that when she's walking through the room, and I'll still be getting chuckles out of it a couple hours later. If you think I'm kidding, you ought to try it yourself. I don't know if you're going to hear it very much because, you know, this is just playing in the living room here. It's not like I have this plugged in or anything resembling, you know, decent sound on here. But, yeah, as shitty as Welcome to Hell sounds, this is actually even shittier, and I love it. It sounds so fat. It sounds like the grooves are like this wide or something. It's fucking nuts. At least that's what I imagine. I know that's how it works, but all that delay on the vocals. Fucking so good, dude. So the next one is number 14. This is the Steel 45. This is a relatively late, or this is a late one for me getting it anyway, too. And this is an easy one to snooze on, too. This record was one of those that I sort of went, they're called Steel, who gives a shit, you know? This is actually kind of a banger, low-key. So, if you come across this one, it's totally worth checking out, man. And it's an early Neat, you know, it's Neat 14, so, I really couldn't tell you why I've snoozed on it for so long. That's, you know, it's not Venom or Raven, but it's another weirdo band that, to my knowledge, only made this one single, too. So, there might have been something else elsewhere. I'm pretty sure they never made an album. Alright, this next one. So I said something about Jaguar before. I didn't think their album was all that great. If you're going to get one record by Jaguar, it should be not their first single, but their second single. Their first single, Backstreet Woman, came out on heavy metal. And it's pretty fucking good. It really is. And they're pretty fucking good anyway. But this was their greatest moment right here. This 45, Acts Crazy, on Neat, is the best they ever sounded. Now look at that, they actually sprung for a color picture on the back too. wonder if they like paid the label under the difference or something like that, you know? Anyway, this is the best that Jaguar ever got. This is like really sort of, it's like you take any of their other shit and like give it a big shot of adrenaline, you know what I mean? Any of that sort of anemia you hear on Backstreet Woman, it's kind of like, ugh, it's like tweaked out of them, and it's fucking all in this record right here. That's the best they ever were. Actually, if you're gonna get one record by Jaguar and you don't want to go hunt down one of these things and spend what some dealer is asking for it, the one I really recommend is the live record that came out on Buried by Time and Dust. It's a double, and it has a lot of these early songs in a live setting. And a lot of the shit off the album that just sounds kind of like tired on the record sounds a lot more alive. You know, I don't think it like saves the mediocre songs necessarily, but it's a more fun listen, I think, than Power Games. Yeah, up next, the first Crucifixion single is kind of more sought after than this one, but I think I might actually like this one better than the Fox. Don't get me wrong, the Fox is fucking great. But yeah, this Take It or Leave It with that fucking skeleton guy. Actually, we're gonna put this one on for a minute too, because it's ending right now. Jaguar's gonna have to wait. You'll have to trust me on Jaguar, maybe. Crucifixion, I know for a fact, got a pretty nice reissue. Who the hell did it? I don't think it was High Roller. I think it was No Remorse. And then it could be that like High Roller did a different version of it or something like that afterwards, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not really on top of that kind of shit. Yeah, but Crucifixion was you know, it's funny. They're like the two most like generic song titles in the entire new wave of British heavy metal are both represented here. Take It or Leave It and On the Run. It's like you'd think this has to be the most generic record ever, because there are like probably 5 different bands that did songs with each of those titles. Reincarnate comes to mind right off for Take It or Leave It. Overdrive did On the Run. There's more. But this record is just so alive and so happening, you know? And the singer sounds so urgent, like he's just barely getting it out, you know what I mean? Like he's almost out of his range and shit, but he's just barely hanging on. It's just a great effect on the record. There you go. There's 13 of Clubs. Next one I kind of sneezed on too. I actually don't have a sleeve for this one, but the original sleeve was just like stamped on here or something. This is Warrior, Dead When It Comes to Love. And the last one was 19, this is 20, and after this, there are going to be some little holes in there. There might have already been a couple. Actually, I'm pretty sure the Crash Bang Wallop 7-inch was in the middle here, and I think I have a 12-inch of that, but most of these didn't come out as 12 inches, though, just so you know, if you feel inspired by that. There's a 3-song EP. It's not bad, but these guys were really sort of an also-ran, you know what I mean? So this record, there's nothing wrong with. Okay, it's kind of cool that it's live too. But it's not one of the ones like to the degree that the Neat record label is sort of legendary among collectors. It's not because of Warrior, you know. Kansas City is probably my favorite song on here, though. It's not bad. Dead When It Comes to Love sounds like it's gonna really suck, and it doesn't. It's actually really good, but it's not the greatest thing ever, and it's not that great compared to something like this, man. Fucking this Persian Risk record. Yeah, I think it's probably as good as their first one, that Calling for You one, which is a lot more, well, expensive. Look at these fucking guys, though, man. Like, name Persian Risk might not sound that tough, but this guy's fucking studs look tough, right? Even if he's kind of a skinny fuck. Anyway, really cool record, man. Great banger. 2 awesome songs. Not the heaviest thing ever, they're not Venom, but it's not like wussing out either, you know, it's solid. Yeah, actually I'm gonna put that one on for a minute, just so I feel like it. More than a lot of these, I feel like I'm selling Persian Risk a little bit short here, because I don't know what to say about the record, but it's not because it isn't good, so I'm just going to let them speak for themselves. Gotta love these labels, man. I mean, as a collector, I mean, let's be honest. If you're watching this, you're a collector, and you probably know that we're suckers for things like a really cool label design like that. So there we have it. So this is Riding High by Persian Risk. I'm pretty sure this is their second single. Oh, fuck, there are a couple fingerprints on this. I didn't do that. By admitting that, actually, I'm outing myself as not always cleaning my records when I get new ones in the mail. It's because sometimes I get so excited to put them on. That's what I care about, right? Yeah, hear that's a fucking solid riff. This is what I mean by, it's not Venom, but it's solid heavy metal, okay? I feel a little less like I've sold them short now because I let you hear this, so... Yeah, we're down to the last couple here, man. So the second last one is actually Neat 27. We jumped way ahead from, well, this one's 24. We're jumping over a lot of numbers at this point. But this is a Die Hard single by Venom. Again, if you have the Neat pressings of the albums, these aren't going to be on there. The 12-inch versions had Bursting Out on it, which was also on a comp. I think it was on the All Hell Let Loose comp, at least in my collection. You can tell the budgets are going up too, you know, because we have a color sleeve this time, on both sides even. Just like the Kronos introducing the songs. But there you go, and this is 83, so this is already a little bit late for the Neat label, you know? It's funny to think of 1983 as being late for anything heavy metal. But the fact is, a lot of this shit had kind of run its course by then. There are a lot of great, you know, records with that sound that continue coming out into the 80s. But, you know, it's not as new anymore. You know, this Venom was kind of an established act by this time. So by the time you get to Die Hard and Acid Queen, you should know what you're in for. And the last one I have sitting here is actually a band that went on to make a couple really good records. I only have the first one, so I shouldn't try and talk about the second one because it would be my ass doing the talking. But Bloodsport's a pretty good record. Not the greatest thing ever, but a pretty good record. But Too Wild to Tame by Avenger is probably the best thing they ever did, in my estimation. And this is Neat 31. So we're way the hell up there in the catalog, right? Yeah, I think this is still 83, but I'm not sure. It might be 84 or something. I don't see it on here right away. No, it says it on the... right there. So yeah, another very cool record. I would actually put this towards the top of these singles too, just on sheer quality. What it doesn't necessarily have as much in like the pure sort of primitive... It's funny, because this looks primitive if you're just going through it. But if you compare this to that Fist single, this looks kind of advanced, you know? So maybe it doesn't have that sheer, just absolute cluelessness. It's like some of those early ones do. But this has enough cluelessness that's just super charming and super fresh. And a really good record. And maybe I'll put it on next time. But that's what I had to talk about for today. I never want to drag this shit out. So yeah, that's my collection of the Neat singles. It's most of the early ones. You know, again, some of the other ones are like sort of just not as essential shit. You know what I mean? You can sift through it yourself. And if you're a big Tyson Dog fan, that's great. I'm not here to yuck your yum or anything, you know. We start getting into like them and like Warfare. You know, they always felt like kind of a joke band to me too. You know, like even before they did that fucking Frankie Goes to Hollywood cover and that shit. I just felt like Neat really lost their way and kind of just all fell apart around really around like 1983. So it's kind of a shame, but on the other hand, you know, nothing lasts forever, right? And it's like when you catch lightning in a bottle, do I want to like enjoy the fact that it was ever in that fucking bottle, or do I want to like sit here and be upset because I couldn't keep it in the bottle for more than 2 years? You know, whatever, dude. I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. It's a great catalog, totally worth investigating. I mean, if you're getting into the new wave stuff for the first time, the shit that you're probably going to start out looking for are the Neat records, the heavy metal records, and the Guardian records. And Neat is probably the most consistent as far as just being really entertaining records that aren't like an absolute fucking nightmare to find, like, you know, some of the Guardian shit, or just like crap like some of the stuff on heavy metal. So, yeah, good luck if you're starting to search this shit out. It's worth the effort, man. I mean, obviously, if I didn't think so, I wouldn't have gone to all this effort, right? But oh, I've said enough. I'm just repeating myself now. Thanks for watching. And again, if you're collecting this shit, good luck. It's out there. You'll find it eventually. Just be patient.